Well, welcome to A Little Better. You're probably noticing that this episode is dropping on an odd day, and that's because this is a bonus episode that we're very excited about. Recently, some of our staff went around the world to Cambodia, and we would love to share what is happening on the other side of the world. Our goal on this podcast is to know Jesus better, and by the power of His Spirit, do better, so together we can be a little better. Well, welcome, Deb and Michelle. Boy, I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. I mean, people are going to hear new stuff, and I'm going to hear new stuff. I haven't really had a chance to get a debrief, so I'm so eager to hear the answers, to my questions, but also just for you to share whatever is on your heart. But Michelle Gerringer is the outreach director here at Northridge Church. Deb, you are what do we call you? Are staff.
Staff development right now.
You're staff, but we don't pay you what you're worth, that's for sure. I think you have a salary of $0, but Deb brings just incredible experience and administration, just a lot of helps, to our organization. But tell us how this happened. Somehow, the two of you got on a plane to Cambodia. Why were you on that plane? How did that come about? Give us the backstory. What's going on?
Yeah. So, Brad, thanks for having us. Appreciate being on here and being able to share a little bit more. So the organization that we went to go visit, its nickname is AIM, like you're shooting an arrow, AIM. But the name of it is Agape International Missions, and they've been operating for 18 years in the country of Cambodia doing anti-sex trafficking work. And so the reason that they got started was because Cambodia was known at the time to be a hub for child sex trafficking. So if people all around the world wanted to engage in that kind of behavior, they would say, I'm going to go to Cambodia. And so AIM got started through, a set of circumstances and began to fight sex trafficking. And they have just grown exponentially and have a really, really robust program that they not only do rescues alongside of local police, they have restoration homes so that women and girls who are saved from sex trafficking have the opportunity to heal and to have a safe place to be. And then they also have a lot of prevention programs that they do to try to address the root causes of why did this thing get started in the first place. And so Northridge has been supporting AIM for 4 years now, and nobody has ever gotten the chance to see it. The pandemic is not a great time to visit Asia, so nobody's gone. And so Deb and I had the chance just this year as the first opportunity to be able to go and see the work that they've been doing.
Right. It was really the first vision trip that they've had, and there were 4 of us. Michelle and I went from here, and then another woman from Colorado, and then a staff member for AIM accompanied us, and she has not been back for 7 years, so it was like fresh eyes for her as well. So it was really just the 4 of us, and Michelle and I have been talking for a while about wanting to, to find out more about this, and the opportunity presented itself, and we seized the moment.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, listen, I'd like to understand how big the problem is. Just can you scope out how? I mean, you saw some of it. I mean, and from people, because you've heard stories and their experiences. So both the size of the problem and maybe a little backstory on Cambodia. Why did it become a hub for sex trafficking? Is that?
Yeah. So Cambodia. The issue of sex trafficking is not limited to Cambodia. It's all over the world, and in Cambodia and in Southeast Asia, it is very prominent. And so that area of the world is specifically known for being a place where there's child prostitution. So that's like kind of one of the reasons why that area was kind of focused on. But in general, the problem is way, way bigger than Cambodia. There's 6 million people across the globe that are currently enslaved in sex trafficking. Most of those people are women and girls. Most are minors, and so there's a huge problem with that and with the appetite for that. And one of the reasons why is because when you're looking to make money, you can sell drugs. Let's say if you think about other like illegal things, you can sell drugs one time, but you can sell a person 5 to 8 times a day, over and over again for 10 years or 15 years. So that's just the cost and the weight of what you can gain from taking advantage of somebody is so high that it's one of the fastest growing criminal activities in the world. So that's kind of just the face of like, that is just the reality of trafficking. That's why it's so sought after. It's about the money. It's about the money. And one of the reasons in Cambodia that it kind of has taken off is because of just not seeing the value of people or of women specifically. So there's a Cambodian proverb, and it says that men are like gold. And if you drop gold, you can just pick it up and you can wipe it off, and then they're going to shine. And women are like a white paper, and if you drop them, they get dirty, and then you cannot fix it. And this is the way that people in Cambodia have historically seen and viewed women. And so there's just so much culturally that kind of sets the stage for people to feel like this is the only option and to feel very stuck in their circumstances.
Yeah, the one of the things that was evident right away for us was the stark contrast between just the poverty and then a huge gap between that and the wealthy. You could see it no matter where you went. But what Michelle says is so true and so evident. In the first day that we were there, we visited the church, which we can talk more about. But the second day, we went to the killing fields. And for me, as a college student, we heard about Cambodia. We heard about all the things, the Khmer Rouge, those kinds of things that were going on, but we really didn't understand. So to go there early in our trip and to see what that country experienced at the hands of just tyrannical rule was unbelievable. So it set the stage for us to help us understand like a whole generation of people just really losing their family structure, their religion, their business, all of those things. It sort of set the stage for this kind of activity where people are in severe poverty. They don't really have their moral compass about them. And I think that really, it really punched us in the gut and made us realize that this is not certainly about our judgment. It's about understanding these people's story and where they come from, what they need to do to survive, or at least what they think they need to do to survive. And it's shocking. It's shocking when you think about kids, about young girls. It's shocking, but you start to understand a little bit.
Yeah. Deb, you and I are old enough to remember the Vietnam conflict. Yeah. I remembered as a kid, I was not old enough to be drafted, but would see the news reports every day. Yeah. I think I remember the tallies of American dead, every day. But that conflict obviously had entered American consciousness because it spilled over into Cambodia.
Sure did.
I don't think we sent troops in, but we bombed that country quite a bit.
Sure did.
And
it kind of set the stage, for that country's vulnerability to someone to come in, to take over, and, essentially, the current population, Michelle, correct me, is about 3 million of Phnom Penh, the city where we were most.
Okay.
And they estimate that close to that many people were killed in the killing fields.
Wow.
If you wore glasses, it was a sign of wealth. If you had intelligence, education, any of those things, you were eliminated. And so they come from a place of rebuilding, and it's so fresh. The 70s, the late 70s was not that long ago.
Yeah.
So it's, for us to understand that.
Michelle, you had pointed me towards a film, First They Killed My Father. I'm getting choked up talking about it. So it's hard to see, the darkness of the world. But that film is currently on Netflix. It's an Angelina Jolie directed film. It's very good. Beautifully shot, but horrible experience is chronicled. But it gives you that background of just a country destroyed by tyrannical, despotic communism that ripped apart families and did horrible things. So that there are decades later this kind of damage that lingers, is not surprising. But
I think one of the things that we did experience, it's tremendously emotional. You just can't not cry. You can't. Sometimes it's like it's almost too much. And you get really overwhelmed. But in the midst of all of that pain and darkness and the things that have happened, life continues.
Yeah.
And there's beauty. And there's so much amazing things about Cambodia. And probably the best and most beautiful thing we saw was there's a small little fishing village, which is where AIM got its start. And so that was really the heart of the people that they're trying to serve, the people of Swaipak. And that's the name of that village. And in the village of Swaipak, God planted a church.
Yeah.
And the local church is really the heart of all of the prevention programming that they have, of just the changing of the culture in that place. There was a culture where it was okay to sell your daughters because of poverty, because of not understanding their value, because of a lack of moral compass. And that is significantly changed. 18 years ago, it was a very different place to where it is today. So today there's a church of 200 or 300 Cambodian believers. It's led by a Cambodian pastor. They have young disciples and a kids club that they do to reach out to local people from actually Vietnam who are stateless and don't have land, don't have working papers in Cambodia. And so they run like after school programs for them. They allow them to go to a school that AIM operates.
And
So there's
Michelle, I just want to say,
go hit it.
Yeah, the first day we were there, we went to church, and it's upstairs of where AIM is located, and all of a sudden, all these people just arrived, and there were testimonies, not in our language, but we had interpreted, and it was phenomenal to see in the midst of what we knew, like Michelle said, had been this darkness that Jesus was there. I mean, he was so present, and those people were so full of joy, singing and laughing, and the faces of the kids, and the van or the enlarged tuk-tuk goes to pick up the kids in this little Vietnam.
What's a tuk-tuk?
Oh.
Deb, tell them about your tuk-tuk experience.
Our tuk-tuk experience. A tuk-tuk is, it's like a two-seated vehicle. There's a seat facing forward, a seat facing back. It has a cover over it, and it's pulled by a motorbike.
Okay.
So the driver is the motorbike. Fortunately, there were four of us, so we could really experience. We went everywhere in this tuk-tuk.
Yeah.
And there are thousands and thousands of motorbikes, and they're like going there's like 10 lanes of traffic, and it's wild and crazy, but it was amazing because we could smell everything, see everything. It was just phenomenal. But so this enlarged tuk-tuk has many seats that they take to this Vietnamese village, and they bring the kids to, like Michelle said, this program in the afternoon, Kids Club. And we pulled into the village, and the kids just come streaming out of their huts. They just come running out to see the people that are coming to pick them up, and they're just so joyful, and they come and they sing songs about God and about Jesus. And one of the things I was just so struck by is particularly the little boys, watching them with their hands together and their heads bowed, just praying during all of this. It was phenomenal. It was just phenomenal to see. So hopeful. So especially, like I said, about the boys, because we focus on the girls, we talk about that, but I think about these boys growing up to be young men and how they're learning the value of human life.
Yes.
Not just themselves,
Right.
but their sisters and their neighbors,
Right.
and even their moms.
Yeah.
So.
What a contrast.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the world is dark in different ways. So we're looking at a particularly particular flavor of darkness, like in Cambodia. But I was listening to a rabbi yesterday talk about tikkun olam. It's a Hebrew phrase, means to heal the world. And just to think that really, I mean, it's a wonderful, aspiration. But to me, only Christ and the church, he can heal the world. But it's interesting that Rabbi said the world is a dark place, but scriptures are night vision goggles. And I love that picture. But the scriptures, the Bible, the church, Christ, can go into a place like Cambodia and you have night vision goggles, but you can see and address what's going on. What does the church bring? What does Jesus bring? There's other organizations doing good work, right? There's NGOs, there's people trying to help, all the things around 100%. The world. But what does Jesus bring that only Jesus can bring?
Let me tell you a story. So they have a place called the Lord's Gym. It's a fully functional gym. They do like sparring matches and teach MMA or whatever the Cambodian version of MMA is, right? And so they will they have young men from the area, and like boys and young men and men will come and train. And the intention of the Lord's Gym is to create a safe place where they can have good ways to engage with the community. And a lot of young men are groomed to become traffickers. And so in the Lord's Gym, they share about Jesus. They do Bible studies together. They pray together. They prepare for championships and like matches and fights. And so there's just this camaraderie around sports that most of us have experienced in the U.S. You've got your FCA, Fellowship of Christian Athletes, that's doing things through sports, sharing Jesus through sports. And so that's a similar kind of concept with the Lord's Gym. And there was a young man who was going to the Lord's Gym, and he started going while he was still a trafficker. And he was making $2,000 a month, which in Cambodia is a huge amount of money. And from the village that he's in is an enormous amount of money. And he was making that doing trafficking. And he came to faith, learned about the value of human life, and decided that he could no longer do what he was doing. Just took a step back from trafficking, no longer is a trafficker, and is now content to make $75 a month doing, I forget what his new role was, but he's doing something. He's doing something honest. He's doing something that is valuing other people, and he is making way, way, way less. But for Jesus, he just, once your life has changed, that is the result, is that we're seeing not only people rescued, but the heart change of, right, I'm willing to take less because that's not who I am anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after these girls and young women are rescued, they're taken to a restoration home. They have house moms there, and they're well protected, they're well cared for, and they are feeling the love of Jesus. I mean, it's pervasive throughout their whole day. And what we learned is that sometime very soon, it may have already happened, that of the about 60 that are in this restoration home, 32 of them are going to be baptized. Oh. And it was just amazing to think that these girls and women, some of them are in the restoration home for months, some of them are there for years because they're so young. Yeah. And they're there until they're ready. They're there until they're ready to take the next step, and they're helping them learn other skills. But the whole idea that they have a swimming pool behind the restoration house, and they're going to baptize them in the swimming pool. And it was just unbelievable to think about that, and then to come home and have our huge open baptism, to think that around the world the light is shining. And
it's not the only open baptism service that's happening this month.
No, it's not.
That's wonderful.
So they go from the restoration home and they learn these skills, and Michelle and I were able to see them at the training center. You can't take pictures. But we were able to see the things that they do, and
so AIM has they have a school, so for young girls they can continue their studies or start their studies for the first time and graduate. And then they also have an employment center, and the employment center makes jewelry and has a whole line of t-shirts and kimonos and flannels, and then also has a custom shop. So if you wanted to order for, 100 t-shirts of certain sizes, you can order those through AIM. And what's really neat about those products is that they all are signed or engraved by the woman who made them. So you can see the name of that survivor.
You have your bracelet on,
I do. I have
a
a bracelet and a necklace that's engraved with the name of a survivor and the day that she was rescued, and that her kind of new life started. And so those things are actually available online. You can search for Agape International Missions and find their shop and purchase or shop through there. And that's a great way for us back home to support. And so those women are paid a fair wage and offered child care for any children or dependents that they have, and offered medical care for their entire family. So the employment center is crushing it as far as like that wraparound support to allow women to learn how to work in a job. And then some people stay there, and some of the women say, they're asked, what do you want to do? What's your dream? What do you envision yourself doing? And so we've seen ladies that moved on to become working in salons. There's someone who became a realtor. And then there's even somebody who decided that she wanted to bake cakes.
Yeah, it was awesome. We went to the bakery where she baked, and these cakes are like nothing you've ever seen. Yeah. And I don't want to steal your thunder, Michelle, because you love to. Yeah. The king actually got wind of the cakes, and she baked a cake for the king
of Cambodia. Yeah.
And
she's the cake baker for the king. Oh. Yeah.
So the thing that is just so beautiful about AIM is that they rescue, and then they helped. They help with this transformation. I mean, they help because. It's Jesus that's doing the transforming, and they support them to find their new life, what their life is going to be, and they don't leave them alone to go back, because that's what would happen. Yeah. They would go back to that life because they don't think they have a choice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think that. I think about Compass Care talking about erasing the need for abortion. It's like women who feel they have no other option, choosing abortion. But you are dealing with a culture here where the women are taught they have no other option. Yeah. They're taught if they love their families, they'll let this happen because it's the only way for their families to survive.
Yeah, they're very dedicated.
They're not allowed to dream of other options or to consider other options. And Michelle, you were talking to me before, just how cruel it would be to rescue them from something like that and let them tumble back into it. Yeah. But it takes that long-term commitment, to provide a path forward, which is so incredible.
And, everyone's always asking, like, how can we pray? What can we be praying for? And that's exactly it, Brad, is that there is right now they have a home that will have about 50 to 60 girls in it at one time. But when we were talking with them, they said, we know of plenty of other places right now where we could go and rescue girls, but we don't have space to put them anywhere. We do not have another restoration home room in the one that we have. And so they are working on building a second restoration home. And so we can pray that they would be able to build that it would be fully funded, because they have the opportunity. They know where the girls are. That without having a place to put them, they will not rescue and have them fall right back into where they were. Yeah. So that's a huge opportunity for prayer. A huge need for AIM is that they're working on building that second restoration home so that they can continue, to do those rescues.
Right, and for the staff there, the principal of the school, the teachers, all the people that work for AIM, just to encourage them, just prayers of encouragement for the work that they're doing, because this is hard work. It's really heart-wrenching work, and you don't ever want to get hard to it. Right. So encouragement for them, and we just had such an amazing time with those people. I mean, they're so supportive and so just so loving and so full of the love of God.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Well, you've heard so many stories of people there and stuff. What do you think they would want to say to us? What do we need to learn from what you saw? What should the kingdom here learn from what you saw of the kingdom there?
You know, I think about, we talked about the tuk-tuks.
Uh-huh.
Well, most of the tuk-tuks are driven by men
Uh-huh.
around Cambodia, but there's a woman named Kim who said, I want to be a tuk-tuk driver. And so she started her own tuk-tuk. She bought a tuk-tuk, started her own company, and then she started hiring other tuk-tuk drivers who are women.
Mm-hmm.
And so they call themselves the Lady Tuk-Tuk Drivers. And I got to tell you, they are the best of all of the tuk-tuks because it is 95 degrees in Cambodia. Yeah. The sun is shining on you. It's hot. And you get back into that tuk-tuk and they have water, cold compress for your hands and for your forehead.
Scarf.
Yeah, compliment. So they're clean. The ladies know what they're doing driving these tuk-tuks, and they're very, very good drivers. So we were always happy to be driven around by a lady tuk-tuk driver. And the woman who started this, Kim, she knows Jesus. Mm-hmm. And she feels like her calling in life is to share the gospel through driving this tuk-tuk. And so many of the people that she has hired are also Christians. Mm-hmm. And one of the people we were supposed to be driven for a day by, she said, I can't come today because somebody else is going to cover you. I want to go. You already know Jesus. And I need to share Jesus. And so since you already know, I cannot, I'm so sorry, but I cannot. Yeah, she said she did her hands together, which is a sign of respect. And she said, I can't come. I can't drive you today because I need to drive someone else who doesn't know Jesus. And so she was telling us all about the ways that how she came to faith, and then how she she just shares a little bit all day, every day with the people that she meets about how wonderful her Savior is and how he's changed her life.
Yeah, when you say that, it reminds me of you saying to me, we were talking about Cambodia history, these present experiences, just like how happen again, but how ready is someone to hear the good news of Jesus? How much do they want to believe there is a Jesus, that there could be a Jesus, that he is real, and so the openness to the gospel, in that circumstance. So I think about the darkness there. Perhaps the darkness here is our inoculation against the gospel. We have our self-sufficiency, our education, we're not worrying about the next meal. We have these intact families, and we have ways to reason away and rationalize away God. But, Satan took so much ground there.
Oh, boy.
But his downfall is that
Jesus looks so good.
He looks
so good.
And it's a spark.
Good.
It's like it's the spark when you turn off the main road into this town, this Sveipak. There's a spark. There's a light, and you can just see that it's traveling, it's spreading, and you see it in pockets and in restaurants where they'll have love or a scripture or something in restaurants where people who are believers who keep out the activity that they don't want to have happen. So it's definitely spreading, and it's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah. So what a testimony! What for us to get to see that. Yeah. Such a delusion we have here that we don't need him, and they're living in the real world, and they're seeing Jesus do amazing things. Yeah. Well, anything else that you guys like to share? I'm kind of looking. I think we talked about the things that. Is there any
we could go on
words
all day.
We could go on for a while.
I think one of the most important things is to really clamp your eyes on what it looks like. There's a couple of really great documentaries that you could watch if you want to hear the stories. Yes. And so there's a story of a girl named Reaksmey it's a documentary called Tending Clouds. It is on YouTube, so it's easy to get to, and it's just her story, and she tells it herself. She is a young girl. Her mother sold her to a trafficker who sold her to an American pedophile. And it's the story of her rescue, her healing, her coming to Jesus, and her testifying against him in court. And so there's a lot to unpack in that. And if you want to hear her story and hear her tell it, you can watch the documentary Tending Clouds. it's incredible, and it really, you see SWIPAC, you see the place and the people and the founders and all of the people that God has used and is using to fight this thing.
Yeah, incredible. Well, thank you so much. Well, thank you for hanging in there. I know this episode was a little long, and there's more, but we got to end it. But we will definitely include those additional resources there. So certainly a link to AIM, a link to our Beyond page, so you can see the rest of things are going, but especially a link to this story, Tending Clouds, so you can find it easily on YouTube and get some background and learn more and know how to pray, how to act, how to continue to respond. But God is on the move, and it's just so incredible to see what he's doing. We'll catch you next time. Thanks.